Hello there, I'm AD Hobbs, and, well, first things first. This is my Star Trek review. I did another one about the original series, but the recording stopped abruptly. The machine malfunctioned. Why it malfunctioned, I don't know. Maybe it was something to do with the review being too long, so I thought, well, do another review, but don't make it too long. So by that logic, I better get a move on. Right, okay. I'll carry on where I left off. Basically, I got up to the bit where I was saying, I suppose most people saw the original Star Trek TV show first, then saw the film series. But not me, no, because it was before my time. I saw the films first, then saw the 1960s TV show. So I saw like Star Trek 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And of course, what I was familiar with was these actors that were all like middle-aged, you know. And then, so seeing the TV show, seeing them much, much younger, faces I was familiar with, but a much younger version, it was a bit strange, It was like seeing a brand new reboot of the show. But no, it wasn't a reboot. No, what I was seeing was the original show, yeah. And I enjoyed it. I think I was about 12 years old, and yes, I really enjoyed seeing the original series. I wanted to see the roots, see the origin, how it all began. And of course, I had to be tolerant of bad special effects, yes, because it was the 1960s, yeah. Bad special effects, bad lasers, bad backgrounds, and if there were lots of rocks, they'd be made of paper mache, So yes, but in a way, it didn't matter. It didn't matter that it was bad special effects, so long as the stories are well done, the character development is good, And also, I like the connections, between it and the film series. Like, for instance, there was one episode where we see the Pone Far, and Spock has to go to the planet Vulcan, and we see the Vulcan salute, and we hear the phrase "live long and prosper." So yeah, it was good, these connections between the original show and the film series. And also, there's one episode where the Starship Enterprise it does the self-destruct thing, but it's cancelled at the last minute. That happens in one episode. But the style they do it is just the same as the style it's done in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. So yeah, I liked all these connections between the original and the film series. And the characters remain consistent, Captain Kirk is a good leader, a bit overconfident and egotistical at times, but nevertheless a good leader. And some explore to pioneer the culture, for the good of humanity, which Captain Kirk does. He also uses it to sleep around a lot, yes, he has many love affairs, yeah. Dr. McCoy is always very cynical and a bit too honest, always tells it how it is. Spock is always devoted to logic, and Mr. Scott is very, patriotic, very proud of his heritage, being a Scotsman, and he loves engines, yes. Engines are a work of art as far as he's concerned. He will not have anyone say a nasty word about the Starship Enterprise. In other words, there's something for everyone. All the characters are quite different, yeah. And this model here, which I got when I think I was about 13 or something, yeah, here, I don't know if you can see it right, but next to the main circle section, there's two tiny dots, and they're the phasers. We don't have that much detail on the 60s model. So effectively, there's more detail on this tiny model than there is in the model in the TV show. So more detail on a tiny model than on a much bigger model. Well, that shows you how microtechnology has made things different. And as I was saying before, the special effects were not very good in the 60s TV show, but that's because it was on a small budget. But even if it was on a big budget, you probably wouldn't notice any different, because they didn't have really good advanced digital effects then. They didn't exist. So yeah, people's expectations were a bit lower as far as special effects were concerned. Oh yes, and here's some trivia about special effects. When Star Trek was being developed, originally the idea is they explore planets. The crew would get on a small shuttlecraft and land on a planet below. But the special effects were very expensive to do that kind of special effect. So how could they save money? Well, Gene Roddenberry came up with the idea. He said, why don't they just teleport to the surface of the planet? That would save a lot of money, so that's why they teleport in pretty much every episode. I think on very rare occasions we see them go in the shuttlecraft, but more often than not, yes, they beam down and beam me up, Scotty. That phrase, yeah. Oh, yes, and apparently the phrase "beam me up, Scotty" does not exist. Nobody ever says "beam me up, Scotty" in any episode. They say "Scotty, beam me up" or "Scotty, free to beam up," but they never actually say "beam me up, Scotty" word for word. So it's a catchphrase that's more or less correct. Nobody ever said "beam up, Scotty," but it's the sort of thing they might have said, yeah. And another thing about because of the budget of the show, why are the aliens nearly always humanoid? They look just like humans, except they have strange eyes or strange ears or strange cheeks. Well, again, because of the budget of the show, it saves money, And it's not just that; it's also because you want the human characters to interact with with the aliens, and they have to look intelligent, There was one episode when they talk with an alien entity that's a blob of slime, but if they did that in every episode, I don't know, the show would just look silly. So, I don't know, they're humanoids so that they look intelligent. And although the phrase is to boldly go where no man has gone before, they do that. They do visit alien planets that no one's ever, uncharted space and all that. But in a lot of episodes, they go to planets that have been discovered before. They're not there to discover an alien culture. No, they're there to solve a problem. There's a problem on a planet and they need to put it right. Stop these people fighting each other. So is that exploring? Well, the word explore has two different meanings. It means to go to a place that's never been to before, or to go to a place that has been before, but you just do like a complete survey of the charted area. Exploring in the broadest sense means to wander about a lot, yeah. Oh yes, and we have more spaceships. Hang on, coming up. Here we go. This is the Klingon attack cruiser, yes. And that was cool that they had Klingons, yeah. I was pleased with that, because when you think Star Trek baddies, you think Klingons. This is a battle cruiser here. And this is more or less what the Klingon spaceships look like in Star Trek the Motion Picture. We see one of this kind again in Star Trek 6. So yeah, and I don't know if you can see it, but there is in fact a Klingon symbol on one of the wings, yeah. We don't have that in the 60's TV show, so again, there's more detail on this tiny model, yeah. And, yeah, they'd have like different villains every now and again, but if a group of villains prove to be popular, well, we see them again in the next series, yes, and Klingons prove to be quite popular. Their look changed a fair bit, the Klingons. Their clothes were different now and again, But as long as they look mean and look like vicious conquerors, that's what it's all about. Okay, another spaceship coming up. Here we go. This is the Romulan bird of prey, and it's a red bird, even though it's not red in the 60's TV show. It's sort of a murky grey colour, But it looks more or less the same, yeah. And the plasma beam comes out the front section there. And this was in an episode called Balance of Terror, and Mark Leonard played the Romulan commander. And the same actor played a different character. He played Mr. Spock's father, the Ambassador Sarek. So yes, it was interesting to see these connections between the 60's TV show and the film series. And okay, back to the original Enterprise. The first ever episode of Star Trek: The Original Series, or just called Star Trek, was in 1964, and it had Captain Pike. And it had an entirely different crew, except for Mr. Spock, but other than that, all the characters were different. And the pilot didn't do very well, so they had Gene Roddenberry was given a second chance. He had to tidy it up a bit, make it a bit better. And Captain Kirk and all the other characters we know and love were in 1966. But it was still the same spaceship. Yes, even in the Christopher Pike one, there was the Starship Enterprise, yeah. So effectively, you could say Star Trek isn't really the adventures of an individual person or peoples. It's you could say it's the adventures of the spaceship. Yeah, the spaceship is consistent. It's in every single episode of Star Trek. And when Star Trek first came out in the 1960s, originally it was meant to be like a western in space, like Pilgrims, or going to visiting new lands and pioneering new cultures. But some would say no, it was more like Gulliver's Travels than that, They visit alien planets where there are different rules and different customs. So you have to respect that different countries, different planets, have different rules, different views of right and wrong. Oh yes, and I suppose I must say it. The prime directive in the Federation of Planets is not to interfere with other planets, the development of their culture. But in one episode, I think it was called The Apple, they do drastically interfere with a planet's culture, their development and everything. And the reason they do this is because Captain Kirk says they're being ruled by a machine, a computer brain thing. Therefore it's not a real culture, therefore we have the right to interfere. Or do they? I mean, you have the right to interfere if the people are unhappy, but the people are perfectly happy there, you know. Do you have the right to interfere with someone's culture if they're perfectly happy the way everything is? You know, no, I don't think you do you? You know. So yeah, there are a few little bits I didn't agree with, you know. I don't like everything about Star Trek, but it doesn't matter, you know, because the ups outnumber the downs. Overall, a very enjoyable show. Okay, I can just slightly different. If I move that there, like that, this is like a little background for the spaceship, and hold it like that, and then we can see the Enterprise like a star field in the background, yeah. Anyway, Star Trek, the original series, was cancelled in 1969, and people thought that was it. It's over. We're never going to see it again. But because of repeats of the show in the 70s, and they still sold merchandise and stuff, and there was the first ever Star Trek convention in 1972,